What's going on, people? It's your boy Boxing Lowdown here at the slightly later time of 8 p.m. today. We're here for episode number 46 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. And as always, I'm delighted to be joined by, you know who it is, man. The main guy over here, Mr. Controversial, Laurie Lyle in the house from AFTV. What's going on, man?
Yo, good, man. How are you?
Very good, man.
There was no salvo of combination punches today. But what I would like to do is start off by doing this. Round of applause for Yordenis Ugas on a tremendous performance in upsetting the odds and winning the WBA title last weekend. So great performance by him. Secondly, this may surprise you. I'm going to give the WBA a round of applause.
Wow.
Because I have to say that I did not see them giving Ugas a points decision. I was convinced, as a lot of people were, that the fix would be in and all Manny had to do was stay on his feet and he would be awarded a decision. And I thought that the WBA would be so egregious with it, they wouldn't mind how many people scream robbery as long as Manny Pacquiao got the win. So I applaud them. And I also apologize to them in a way because I never saw that coming.
You're apologizing to the WBA?
Well, because I accused them last week of just basically being prepared to rob Ugas if the fight goes a distance. So, you know, if I'm proven wrong, then you have to be a man and accept that you were wrong. So I apologize humbly for that. I mean, you know, there's loads of other things they've done for which they need to be accountable for. But last week, even though a couple of the cards were a bit closer than what I would have had it, at least they arrived at the right decision, which is, we need to be thankful for that. Also going to give a round of applause for Manny Pacquiao. If indeed he is bowing out, although I don't think he probably will. But I mean, you know, he lost on Saturday and there was immediate talks that he may retire. I think he should retire. I'm sure you do as well. If he does retire, he'll go down as one of the greatest fighters to ever have done it. Although people saying that he's the greatest fighter of this era or any other era is ridiculous, really. But yeah, he's definitely an all-famer, an all-time great. Yeah, man. So
okay, let's one.
However, there's another side to the Pac-Man that I'm going to elaborate on later.
Yeah. One last note on the WBA, I have to say, before I go to the comments, is that the WBA, maybe you want to give them a round of applause for this as well. They've apparently they're dropping all these regular and interim belts. That's a positive sign.
That's
they're
a massive
to clean up some of the and hey, who knows if this is just a reaction to the madness that they got caught up in a few weeks earlier, and they've really decided now to clean up their shit. But
well, I was about to say before you came in there, that's what I was about to go on to say, that what I think has happened is probably the WBA have cut so much flack since that Michael Fox fight, where they've been condemned universally in all quarters, that maybe they've decided to have a little internal look at themselves and think, you know what, we're going to launch a bit of a charm offensive and start doing the right things for a change. So, you know, so yeah, I agree with you. Maybe it's that. Maybe they thought, you know what, now at last we need to get our act together and start doing some things worthy of the name of being an official sanctioning body.
Well, let's get onto it, and let's get onto the show anyway, man. We've got a few comments in here already. A few people have arrived. As you guys know, every single week, man, we're here, we're live, and drop your comments in the comment section. Hit the like button on the video. Just the standard procedure now, man. Share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll happily respond to the comments that come in as and when they come in. We've already got a few comments here. IB left an earlier comment before we even went live. He put, "We're back." Yeah, man, we're back at it, bro. He must have came a bit early, but we're here now. Conrad has put here, "Good evening, gents. Good evening to you, bro." Francisco has said here, "Good afternoon from Arizona. Did I miss Laurie's devastating combinations?" There you go, man. There you go. Harvey has put here, "Yo, guys, I hope you're both good. Good to have you here, Harvey, man." WM, my brother, he's put here, "Evening, chaps. Always great to see your faces. Let's go." And then he's put here, "The other side of Pac-Man is that he is a notorious bad loser. The disrespectful comments calling Ugas as one of his easiest opponents is why I'm glad he got slept by Juan Manuel Marquez. And you know what? That kind of segues in to our first topic of today's show, and that is obviously the reaction to Manny Pacquiao and Yordenis Ugas. And Laurie, I know you gave applause for Ugas, particularly on his performance, but we were speaking off camera about this comment here in particular, and you were saying pretty much the same thing about Pacquiao and you know, him being a sore loser. So I'll give me your thoughts on the fight, and obviously his comments after the fight as well, Manny Pacquiao's.
Right, yeah. As I said just earlier, a few minutes ago, when I was giving out the round of applause for Pacquiao, I said at the time, there's another side to Pacquiao that I don't like and I want to discuss. But first, in terms of the fight, yeah, I thought it was a very good fight. I must admit, I didn't watch this fight live, you know. You know that, Daryl. We spoke about it on the night, and I said, you know what, Daryl, I'm not going to watch this fight live because I had no belief in this fight. When I say I had no belief in the fight, I'll tell you what I mean, people. So basically, Ugas was a late replacement for Errol Spence. So basically, he saved the show. Now, my concern was that Ugas was going to come into this fight as basically the show saver, a guy that was just there, that was going to show up, perform to a certain level, pick up his check, save the show, man is going to win the title, and everybody goes home happy, right? That was my mindset. Then it transpired that I saw a picture that was being shared around the internet of Ugas clearly carrying a bicep injury. His right arm or left arm, whichever one it was, looked disfigured. That's how bad it was. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, right, the man's fighting injured. There's whatever slim chance he had of winning before, because I actually thought that in terms of skill for skill, Ugas probably got more skills than Pacquiao, boxing skills, not in terms of athleticism, power and stuff like that. But in terms of boxing skills, this is on a par, if not greater than Pacquiao's, who I've never really attributed as being a particularly skillful fighter. But anyway, so when I saw that picture of the arm, and then given my previous misgivings about how that fight was going to be scored, straight away I was thinking to myself, you know what, this is just an organized fix. What's going to happen is Pacquiao is just going to play with it, beat him up, and then that'll be it. Lo and behold I don't watch the fight. I get up the next morning and I see the headlines that Ugas has won. I'm like, rah. So then I go to my computer, I watch the fight, rounds through 1 through to 12. He well won it. And I have to say, man, he performed perfectly. He had an excellent game plan. And what I liked about Ugas' performance as well is that he didn't deploy a lot of movement. He basically stayed in the pocket and boxed Pacquiao's ears off, which means that he did get caught with punches. Yeah, as you can see after the fight, his face was quite swollen up. He did take some blows, but he landed by far the better shots. His jab controlled the fight. He had a very good body attack, which caused Manny to wince and complain to the referee. So all round, it was a very creditable performance and a well-deserved win. Like I said, I probably had it a bit wider than some of the scorecard. I think I had it like 8 rounds to 4, or maybe 8 rounds to 3 with 1 even. But he was a clear winner and deserved it. Now, after the fight, and this is something that I've spoken to you about in the past, something that really irritates me about Pacquiao. He's got a history of not giving his opponents who beat him credit. You know what I mean? He will always come out with some excuses. I mean, the Floyd one was one of the most notorious ones, where first he said he had a bad shoulder. Then when he was in danger of getting sued about the bad shoulder because he'd signed documentation stating that he was fit to fight. So I think when he started coming out that he fought injured with the shoulder, it's my understanding that he was going to get sued because people were saying, well, look, how could you go into this fight, you know what I mean, with an injured shoulder when you said before that you know what I mean, you were fine and you signed the form to that effect. Yeah. Then when the pressure started to get put on him with that, then he started, oh, the Floyd was just running and all that. So straight away, he's not giving Floyd any credit, props, any you know what I mean, any credit for the win. Go back even before that, when he got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, he was telling the whole world that it was just a lucky punch. And so we have with Ugas, initially after the fight, he was giving Ugas some semblance of credit. Lo and behold, a day or so later, it was an easy fight, but I had leg cramps and all the rest of it. And I just think to myself, this whole Manny Pacquiao thing, this whole kind of people get taken in by the humble Manny, you know, bowing, talking about God. Yes, and it's all an act, people. The guy is an egotist. He's got a massive ego, and he will not. He's a narcissist. He will not allow himself to have been beaten. It's always got to be an excuse. And it's very irritating. I mean, like, listen, I know some of your viewers out there are going to say, yeah, all boxers do that. But like I said, this contrast with the popular opinion of Manny as this super nice, super humble guy. It's a myth, people. It's a myth.
Conrad has said here, I think you need that attitude to get to the top, but it has its downsides. And Harvey said you're spot on. So what do you reckon about that comment there about its downsides?
Yeah, I get it. Listen, what some fighters will do in the initial aftermath is exactly what Pacquiao did. And then they will do a 360 again. So basically what they'll say, a typical fighter's post-fight interview will be, I don't want to make no excuses. And then they'll go on to make a litany of excuses. Then when it gets pointed out to them, later on down the line, they'll say, well, actually, yeah, I got beat up by the better man on the night. Which, when you think about it, that's all you got to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've been beaten, just say, I was beaten by the better man on the night. You're not necessarily admitting that the guy's a better fighter than you. You're just saying that on the night, he got his tactics, he performed better than I did. However, if we fight again, I think I can beat him in a rematch, which, you know, 9 times out of 10, there's no real issue with somebody doing that. Mm-hmm. But when you just, you know what I mean, just throw out a load of excuses and, you know what I mean, refuse to give your opponent any credit and stuff like that, and you continually do that every time you lose, nah, man, I think that's, where's all the class that people always saying that he shows, you know what I mean? Oh, Manny Pacquiao, a classy guy and all that, you know what I mean? Where is that, you know?
Folks have said here, so is Manny a bad human? No one said that, man.
No, I didn't say that. What I said is a lot of people have been taken in by this sort of super humble Manny nice guy act, which is an act as far as I'm concerned. Because the reality of it is that when he loses or when things don't go his way, you see another side to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're this God-fearing, humble person, you know what I mean? Where is your humility and gracefulness in defeat? Where is
the thing is, it's like, I mean, I remember when Manny fought Timothy Bradley, and like a lot of people thought he won that first fight, and he took that pretty humbly enough. You know, when a lot of people got robbed, he took that fight pretty well. So I find it weird how, you know, I find it very distasteful. Like
but then he later claimed he was robbed. A lot of people were gassing him up saying he was robbed, and then he come out with I was robbed. He did the same thing with Jeff Horn. I watched that fight. I thought at the time that Jeff Horn beat him. I just thought that he had trouble with Jeff Horn's physicality. Jeff Horn was ragdolling him in there at times. And he had, don't get me wrong, Pacquiao rallied as a great fighter that he is. He will always rally. And but he lost the fight quite clearly, in my opinion. But after the fight, I was robbed, this and that. Remember, he fed out with Freddie Roach, didn't he? Afterwards, he said that there was some, remember that? He said that there was a conspiracy of Bob Arum to take away the title from him.
Yeah.
He was the one who willingly went to Australia. So he was quite happy to pick up the bag in Australia. But as soon as he lost, it was, I won the fight, I was robbed. It's a conspiracy. Bob Arum didn't want me to win the title, blah, blah, blah. He's saying similar things now as well, by the way. The latest stuff coming out, what I'm hearing is that the PBC robbed Pacquiao. They wanted Ugas to fight Spence. So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's silly. I think I don't like that part about Manny. I have to be honest, man. And there were very distasteful comments I saw talking about Ugas, but in particular, saying it was easy and all that. I mean, come on, bro. Everyone could see it wasn't easy.
Yeah, if it was that easy, why didn't you beat him? If it was that easy, he wouldn't have needed to have his legs, wouldn't he? By the way, he's talking about legs. So I assume what he meant was he wanted to run then, because apparently everyone who fights Pacquiao runs, according to him. If you don't stand in the pocket and fight his type of fight, Pacquiao will call you a runner. He's done that consistently throughout his career. He even accused Thurman of running. He accused Broner of running. He accused Floyd of running. If they don't stand in the pocket and trade with him when he wants to, He classifies them as runners. And it's for these reasons why I said on your show last week that I would like to see a new champion, and I would like to see Manny Pacquiao retire. As good as he's been for the sport, I think the time has come now.
Well, it's not looking like he's not looking like he will retire. I think he's saying that he may come back. Originally, we thought that he might, but now it's looking like he's saying that he'd be open to a rematch with.
I'm sure he will.
How popular will that be?
Because the man's ego and narcissism will not allow him to accept defeat. So he will look for excuses, and then he will demand a rematch, which he'll probably get. I mean, I said to you in the aftermath of the fight last weekend, I said, Daryl, he will not retire. Remember I said that to you, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I said, a guy like that will not want to bow out of the game on a loss. Because you think about his whole image, him running for senator and then running for president of the Philippines, is kind of all wrapped up in the image he has, isn't he? So he won't want to go to the polls as a loser. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah. That is very much part of his campaign. To be president of the Philippines is to be on top of the world as a boxer. Now he's been defeated by Ugas, and quite soundly defeated. He probably considers that as a major embarrassment. WM said, presidential campaign.
WM said here, lads, what do we make of the conjecture that Manny has been juicing for all these years? Surely it's not humanly possible to go up 8 weights. I'll let Laurie talk about that.
No, I was going to touch on this as well. I am of the belief that he was juicing. Yes, you know, the detractors, I'm saying, will come back and say to me, no doubt, he's never failed a drugs test, which, yeah, he hasn't. However, the rumors have been there for a number of years. And you only got to look at his conduct with the fight with Floyd that took so long to make. Up to 5 years, they're saying it took to make that fight. And what was the chief obstacle in that fight being made? Shall I tell you what the chief obstacle was? Manny refusing to take random Olympic style or random drug testing. Yeah. He refused to do it. He said he had a fear of needles. And people said, hang on a minute, a fear of needles? You got tattoos on both your arms. Wasn't explained. Yeah. You know what I mean? Didn't take a random drug testing for the Keith Thurman fight, apparently.
Volts UK has said here everyone is juicing.
No, I don't believe that to be true. No,
I think
this is the other thing.
Volts is a Pacquiao fan here. Volts is definitely a Pacquiao fan.
So because we suspect Manny's juicing, you're trying to bring everything together and say everyone's. No, they're not. No, that's not true at all. I don't believe that to be true anyway.
No.
Yes, there are a number of fighters that are juicing. The so-called pound for pound best fighter in the world today. We know for a fact he's juiced in the past because he's been caught twice. And there are a number of other people like your Tyson Furies and people like that, been caught juicing. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you can't conflate that with everybody and say that, yeah, just because your favorite fighter is either tested positive or, you know what I mean, a lot of people consider him to be a drugs cheat. You're trying to conflate that and say everybody else is tested positive. I know a few guys, professional ranks, and they'd be absolutely horrified, and they'd probably want to sue you if you call them a drugs cheat because they absolutely detest drugs. So I don't think that's fair at all. Just because Manny Pacquiao has been accused of it by a number of people over a number of years as well, I might add, which I have to say, man, I've got my suspicions. You know what I mean? Listen, I wouldn't flat out say that he's a juicer, but I would say, man, that the rumors have surrounded him for many, many years now. And I believe there's something to it. I really do. And that's another reason why I'm glad he's going. Well, he's probably not going. But that's another reason why I wanted him to retire.
Harvey saying he's convinced Manny's been on the peds. Conrad agrees. Volts, he's saying he's not a Manny fan, but he's also saying he thinks Floyd was on the juice. Francisco saying here, maybe the juice wasn't as good this time, more than most fighters. Pacquiao has relied on his feet, which are crazy and fast, but his legs aren't as good now. Without his legs, he can't manifest.
I like that. I like that. Listen, before this fight, right, I was going online and I was seeing videos. I'm not going to name the channel. I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. And they were posting videos every day. Manny running 9 miles. Manny doing this. Manny super shape. I've never seen him in better shape. Remember that? No sooner as the guy loses, oh, he had cramps, this and that. He's 42, blah, blah, blah. Now, listen. Has Father Time caught up with him? Probably it has, because I have to be honest and say, when I watched that fight again, because I actually watched the fight twice. Definitely, when you watch it the second time around, you could definitely see where he slowed down a lot. Like if you... Even to 2 years ago when he fought Fearon, he's not the same guy. Is it inactivity? Is it his age? Is it a combination of both? But what I would say is Father Time catches up with all of us, man. I can't do even now. What I did in the gym 2 years ago, I can't do that now. I can't put that running machine up to those levels and sustain it the way I used to do it. It's just physiology, man. It happens to all of us. Now, if Manny Pacquiao, after that fight, had come out and said, listen, it's just not there anymore. My legs weren't working the way I wanted them to do. I had a fine camp, but on the night, it just didn't happen for me. I would have said, well, he's basically admitting that he's not the fighter that he was. And even if he had wanted to have one more fight to bow out on a win, none of us, I certainly wouldn't have held it against him. I wouldn't have begrudged him of that. But what I do have a problem with is you're saying before the fight, you're in the best condition ever. Yeah. You've gone out there, you've been beaten handily. The guy beat you, man. It wasn't close at all. You were
Dan Raphael scored it to Manny.
I suppose you're going to say Gareth Davis.
Oh, I didn't even check his one.
Well, you know, those type of guys, your Dan Raphaels and Gareth Davis, they are part of the problem, Darryl. They're not the solution. They are part of the problem. But anyway, that's for another show. But yeah, this guy went into the fight telling the whole world. I heard from Freddie Roach, Justin Fortune, Boo Boy, all of those guys. When they're interviewed, they say, we can't believe he's in unbelievable shape. Never seen him looking this good in years. The minute the fight's over, completely different narrative.
Mm. It's a shame because I mean, really, I wanted to come on here and talk about, you know, how great of a career Manny's had, how it's likely not going to be repeated probably in my lifetime, and, you know, kind of laud all of the achievements that he's done. But instead, we're talking about, do you know what I mean, his excuses after the fight, the fact that he wants to carry on when we all know that he shouldn't be. And, you know, obviously this drugs whole thing has come into it again. So, yeah, it's a shame because I really would have wanted to laud Pacquiao tonight, but I don't know, man. It really threw me off.
It is a shame. And listen, back in 2015, that fight between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd was the biggest fight up until that point, wasn't it? Done like record pay-per-views. He lost the fight. He lost it clearly. After the fight, all he needed to do was say, Floyd was better on the night. I got my tactics wrong. I want a rematch. I'm convinced I can beat Floyd. Instead of that, he came out with all the shoulder injuries. And people felt defrauded, didn't they? I remember a lot of people saying at the time, how could you do that? Yeah. You told us you were in great shape. We paid all this money to see you fight, only for you to put in a poor performance and then blame it on a shoulder injury. When he was copping all the flack off of that, and like I said, there was even talk of him being sued, all of a sudden he switched the narrative. Oh, Floyd was running. Mm. At no stage did he give Floyd any, you don't have to like a man. You see, this is the thing about boxing. If I'm fighting you, Darryl, and we don't like each other and you beat me, I don't have to like you to admit that you got it right on the night and I didn't. I can say, listen, you know what, on the night, Darryl was better than me, but you know what? That was that night. How about we do it again? Yeah. And Floyd is on the record as saying he never wanted to give Manny a rematch because he lacked integrity after the fight. He made it. And I'm with Floyd on that. Why would you? Yeah. Why should you grant somebody a rematch that ever since the fight, all they've done is badmouth you? It's not like Floyd needed him for the money. He needed Floyd. Floyd didn't need him. So if you're talking about the man like that, don't be surprised if the guy don't give you a rematch. He's thinking, you know what? Sod you, man. I'll go and fight somebody else. Yeah. I'll let you wallow in your self-pity.
I agree.
And like I said before, Pacquiao, I just want to make it clear, he's a great fighter. He's an all-time great fighter. But there are certain things about him. The Peds is one, but the Peds is something that I can't prove. So I'm not going to, like, you know, go on about that one too much. But the lack of class, the lack of humility, the excuse making and all that stuff, and the fake nice guy act. Sorry, man, I'm not buying it. Great fighter. Is he a great person? No, not at all. No chance.
So what do you think happens next then for Ugas? Let's talk about him because he did win the fight. Do you know what I mean? I saw after the fight that there were a lot of tweets flying about. Errol Spence was one of them. You know, I mean, he seemed a bit disappointed that he wasn't able to get his hands on Manny. I'm sure the way how he tweeted, he believed that he would have stopped Manny that night. Crawford was tweeting about it as well. But Ugas now, he is the WBA welterweight champion. That is confirmed. I mean, he was defending his belt. He was actually defending it. He didn't actually pick up. He's defending it. So, yeah, he defended it. And, you know, now he can look at unification fights against the likes of an Errol Spence or a Bud Crawford maybe. What do you want to see for Ugas next? I mean, the Spence fight looks likely, but that's if Spence is going to recover fully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you make a good point there because Spence, with that nature of that eye injury, I mean, first we've been told it was a torn retina. Now it would appear that it's a detached retina, which is more serious. I just want to say as well that having watched Manny perform at the weekend, it's a good job that he wasn't in there with Spence or Crawford because he would have got hurt and probably knocked out. That being said, Ugas was the one sharing the ring with Manny. He got the win. It was a decisive win. Excellent performance. And you know what? I'm pleased for him, man. I'm made up for him. You know what I mean? Especially what happened with Rigo a couple of weeks before that. He kind of restored the pride back in Cuban boxing. People were expecting him to lose. They're probably expecting him to run and what also. But if you watch Ugas fight, he's not a runner. He's never really been a mover.
No, he was in the pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Good boxer, good counter puncher. Sometimes doesn't always get his punches off, but he did in this fight. He got his tactics spot on. Credit to him and Ismail Salas. By direct contrast, the tactics or lack thereof in Pacquiao's corner was palpable. What was Freddie Roach and Boo Boy doing? So-called Hall of Fame trainer Freddie Roach. What was going on there? One round he was giving instructions. The next round it was Boo Boy. And as usual with Manny, there's no deviation from his original game plan. It's the same old thing. Just looking to overwhelm people. There was no tactics. There was no adjustments made. There was no subtleties. It was out. And all Ugas was doing was timing it. Hitting him to your body, beating him to the punch. Excellent performance. And you know what? I'm pleased for Ugas as well because, as I said a couple of weeks ago on your show, he was robbed when he fought Porter. He beat Sean Porter, just didn't get the decision. So... You know what I mean? He got his just desserts in this fight, man. And in answer to your question, and I've kind of gone around the block a little bit, Daryl. Apologies for that. But he's in a very good position right now. I mean, he could get the rematch with Pacquiao. And if he does get the rematch with Pacquiao, he's holding the belt and he's holding the cards because I would imagine Pacquiao will probably have to take the short end of the stick in terms of the finance for the next fight. If I'm Ugas, I'll put my foot down and say, okay, I'll give you a rematch. But you know what? The way you were talking before, the respect I showed you that weren't reciprocated, guess what? We're doing 70-30 this time or no fight. You know what I mean? So the ball is definitely in his court.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the Pacquiao fight, then like you said, he's got potential fights there with Errol Spence, with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's on the so-called other side of the street. But on the same side of the street, he's got Keith Thurman. All those three are very attractive fights. Yeah. Maybe even possibly a rematch with Sean Porter. Should Sean Porter beat Terence Crawford, which is unlikely. But, you know, there are a number of plausible alternatives that he's got there.
Yeah, there's a number of options there. I mean,
rematch, he's calling the shots.
It's a very attractive division welterweight, man. So fair play to Ugas. He's 35 years old, but it looks like that he's coming into the money now. So fair play to him, man. I hope that he gets the sort of paydays that he desires, man. But let's move on from the whole Pacquiao talk. I know there's a lot of people here in the comments. Big up WM. Isfan Gob has put here, at last I caught you live. Big up Isfan. Big up, bro. Conrad has said here, I'm extremely happy for Ugas.
Yeah,
and, yeah, I think a lot of people are. But let's move on from the whole Pacquiao situation.
I'm happy for him with his girlfriend as well. She got a lot of attention too.
Yeah, a lot of people are sending me, a lot of people are forwarding pictures of her on my phone, man. I'm just like, yo, these lot aren't even watching the fight. They were looking at his girlfriend, man. And
Listen, man, if you're Dennis Ugas right now, you're in a real happy space, innit? You've just beat an all-time great. You're the WBA champion, and you got one of the hottest girls in boxing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Right now.
She looked all right, man.
Yeah, you know, he sounds like he sounds. I mean, listen, I criticised him before, and I do maintain that. I do think that him not bothering to speak the language is a bit of a no-no, man. He should really have made more of an effort to communicate in English. You know, I mean, given that he fights out of America, he's been there since he defected from the Cuban boxing team. I think it was like 2009. So, you know, I mean, that's a long, long time he's been in America, man. And you can't communicate in English. But anyway, listen, I'm not going to give him too much stick about that tonight, because at the moment we're focusing on what he's done in the ring, not outside the ring. But he's in a good space right now, man, and he deserves it, because he's a good fighter. He's paid his dues, both as an amateur and a pro, and that now he's starting to realise his dream. So yeah, good for him, man.
It's looking like that that there is a rematch clause here, and that if Pacquiao wants to rematch, then Ugas is contractually obliged to give it to him. So let's see what happens there. To be honest, I hope not. I mean, I'd rather see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that, man. But Ugas will take it. Ugas will definitely take it.
I think Ugas will take it, A, because he knows he can beat Pacquiao. He's probably thinking next, because don't forget, you know, he only had 2 weeks to prepare for that fight. Yeah. So he'll be thinking in his mind that, you know what, given more time to prepare, I can do an even better job. I could probably stop Pacquiao next time, sit down on my punches a bit more, probably get him out of there. That's probably what he's thinking. He's got no reason to be fearful of Manny Pacquiao, who, when they fight, if they fight again, will probably be 43 next time. You know what I mean? So another year and tear. So
yeah, let's move on from the whole Pacquiao talk, man. We have some other topics to talk about tonight. The first is the upcoming bout this weekend. I mean, we do have some boxing on these shores in Birmingham actually this weekend, and the main event is Akeem Ennis-Brown against Sam Maxwell. The British and the Commonwealth super lightweight titles will be on the line in that one. Bit of a heated build up to that particular fight. And also on the undercard, you've got Anthony Yarde as well, who's making his return after 8 months out of the ring, 8-9 months. So will be good to see him back. But let's talk about the main event, Akeem Ennis-Brown and Sam Maxwell. What's been your thoughts on that whole build up? And are you actually looking forward to that fight in general?
Yeah, you know what? I am looking forward to the fight, even more so now all the trash talking's gone down. Although some of it from Akeem Ennis-Brown's been a bit unsavory, you know, man. Yeah, I've been, I mean, messaging your girl and stuff like that. Nah, that's that type of thing. I think that's a bit too far, man. You don't need to sell a fight by doing that. But if you're Akeem Ennis-Brown, he's going to turn around to everybody and say, yeah, well, it worked, because now everyone wants to see the fight. I personally would have watched the fight anyway, but I know he's going after a different demographic. Casuals, they love to see a grudge match. And we kind of live in that kind of social media era where you see guys going at it, then, you know, it attracts a lot of interest. But it's a very competitive fight, man. It could go either way. I'm actually leaning a little bit towards Sam Maxwell in this fight, not because I think because he feels he's been wronged, he's going to have revenge on his mind. I think he's technically the more solid of the two. But Akeem Ennis-Brown has performed well so far in his career. He's awkward. He's very physical, fit, strong, you know what I mean? Awkward, like I said. So it's going to be a very good fight. Sam Maxwell definitely has the edge in power. Yeah,
I think Ennis-Brown's only he ain't got a lot of knockouts, has he?
No, he ain't. No, but he's very awkward and he's very tough, deceptively tough. He doesn't look tough, but you know he's one of those guys, man, that will grind it out. You know what I mean? Great engine. You know what I mean? Unorthodox, in your face. You know what I mean? And that's obviously what he's trying to do to Maxwell. Maxwell can be outboxed. I remember a few fights ago he was in with a guy, an Arab guy, I think it was, in Denmark or somewhere like that. And the guy was showboating and running around the ring. I think Maxwell was down on points as well.
Yeah, he was.
His chin out, man, and Maxwell found it with a big shot and knocked him out. So, so there's form there, you know what I mean? For people who have tried to style on Maxwell, he's knocked them out. So you'll be hoping he can do the same thing this time. But with all the talk and all the trash talking that's gone on beforehand, it's actually made it what was a good fight anyway, an even more attractive fight to watch. So I'll definitely be watching. But I'm leaning towards Maxwell But I wouldn't be surprised if Akeem Ennis-Brown came out on top.
I thought, because part of me, I know Akeem Ennis-Brown, he hasn't got many knockouts at all, but
No.
I think that, like, I'm kind of slightly leaning towards him to take it on points for some reason. But if he slips in concentration, as we've seen with Sam Maxwell, he's there till the very end. And
Absolutely.
like, if Akeem Ennis-Brown is not on form on throughout the whole fight, you never know. Do you know what I mean?
See, the thing is as well with boxing that not a lot of people always like readily acknowledge is that if you think about this for a second here, if you're a fighter, you won all your fights and you're not a puncher, basically that means you're a very good boxer because you're not getting guys out of there, but you're still winning all your fights. So that tells me that A, you've got decent boxing skills at the very least, and B, you've got a good engine because all your fights are going the distance. So you're used to fighting the full longevity of the fight.
Yeah.
And he's unbeaten. So every time he's gone in there, he's won. So straight away, that tells you the guy's half decent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes a puncher, you sort of, I mean, I know I'm on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm going to 10. You look at someone like Deontay Wilder. He never really developed his boxing repertoire, did he? Because what he was doing was just banging man out. So it's almost like after a while, he probably stopped thinking in terms of learning the game inside out because he thought, well, he used to say it, didn't he? Wilder was saying, you have to be perfect for 36 minutes. All I've got to be is perfect for 1 second. And you could see by the way he kept speaking that he really did believe that concept. And then lo and behold, what happens? One night you come up against a guy like Tyson Fury, who's not that intimidated, who can box, who can take care of himself in the ring. And look what happened.
Conrad has said here, Ade reminded me today of that fight where that guy tried to clown Maxwell.
Yeah.
And got knocked out in the last round.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I mean, sticking his face out like that, taunting, doing all that. Bang! You know what I mean? The perfect storm.
Yeah. You also got my boy Leon Woodstock on the card, man. He'll be fighting Kakachi. That fight has been pushed back numerous times, so it's good that this fight is back on. Anthony Kakachi and Leon Woodstock. That's a good fight.
He's a guy from Leicester, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, man. I think his career's kind of not really hit the heights that we thought it might. I think sometimes with Leon Woodstock is that he's guilty of brawling, where if he used his natural athleticism and his boxing skills, he could make fights a bit easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he likes to brawl. He likes to show his toughness. And I think sometimes he's made fights harder than what they should have been. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, he's an exciting guy to watch and he's a good boxer. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. Yeah, man. Shout out Leon Woodstock.
What about Anthony Yarde? Because Anthony Yarde, he's returning back. I mean, he's like we've said like I've said on the show like a few times now. He had a rough year last year, probably more than a lot of people, both in the ring and outside of the ring. You know, he lost his he lost his father and his grandparent as well.
Yeah.
Also he lost in the ring to Lyndon Arthur. So you know he went through quite a bit last year. Was supposed to fight earlier on this year. The fight got postponed. I think it's been twice now he's had postponed fights. So he'll be really itching to get back in the ring. The light heavyweight division is popping right now, both here and abroad. So he's going to want to get himself back out there, get his name back in the mix. Very talented division and get his career back on track, man. So his opponent, Alex Fearon, the Colombian guy, I know he fought someone. I can't remember who it was, man, but he's lost 5 times anyway. I think he's been knocked out on those as well. So this opponent here is really for Yarde to kind of, you know, just get his feet wet again, I think. But it'll be good to see him back.
Yeah, listen, man. First of all, shout out to Anthony Yarde because he's actually a mate of mine. You know what I mean? So I declare an interest there. If I do come across as a bit biased, it's because I would call Anthony Yarde a mate. We're not close, but we do know each other. We've socialized before. So yeah, man, I'm glad to see him back. Big him up. Also, shout out to Tunde. You know what's interesting me? I mean, listen, we don't expect him to fight a killer in his first fight back. But what I will be looking at is how he boxes. I mean, you will know that he's taken James Cook on board, who's like that third eye, isn't he? Because he's still got Tunde there, but they got another guy, experienced guy, former very good pro himself, James Cook. A lot of people speak highly of him as a trainer now and a mentor, and they've brought him on board, which makes a lot of sense to me. So it'll be interesting to see how Anthony looks in this fight, if they've been working on any different things, incorporating any new styles So I would imagine that this opponent will be the perfect opportunity for him to demonstrate that. So yeah, I'm kind of looking. I'm not just looking forward to seeing him on a personal level. I'm looking forward to see if he brings anything different to the table. Because I think if I can be slightly critical of Anthony before, is that again we had a guy that kind of fell in love with his power a little bit. I mean, he's a very good boxer, man. I've seen him in the gym sparring. And you know what I mean? This myth that was going around that he don't do any sparring, absolute nonsense, mate. Absolute. I can attest to it. I've been there. I've seen him in the gym sparring, and he'll do 2-3 rounds with one guy. He jumps out another. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him do 12, 15 rounds back to back, and pretty much win all of those rounds as well. So the guy's talented, man. Trust me. He just needs to get back in. Do his thing, and like I said, I'll be looking to see if he brings anything new to the table other than punching power that we already know that he's got. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Yarde come back, man. You know, I've always enjoyed watching him in the ring. Very good character, very good for the game as well. So yeah, I mean, with that, ultimately, if he can win and win well, then potential rematch with Lyndon Arthur could be on the cards. We'll see what happens there, but you know, there's multiple options at light heavyweight. I know that some of the other guys are across the street, so to speak, but it'll be good to see him in there with, you know, another good contender. But I think first of all, he just needs to get back in the ring, and then just you know what I mean, just get a feel for the ring again and get his career back on track. Because if we're being honest, yeah, like really being honest about Anthony Yarde, I think even he would admit that he's probably not where he thought he would be at this stage.
Well, you know what it is with Anthony Yarde? He didn't have a big amateur career. I think he had a dozen fights, and I think he won the Haringey Cup and turned pro. And even there, in those amateur fights, it's my understanding that he stopped most of those guys. You know what I mean? So he's not had a deep career yet. So you know what it is? We still really don't know how good he is or how he can be. And of course, he had that title shot against Kovalev where he did really well. But he succumbed to experience, really, didn't he?
Yeah.
He blew himself out in, I think it was the 8th round when he went for broke. Those famous words, empty the tank, Tunde said. Well, he emptied the tank, didn't get Kovalev out. He came that close to get. Can you imagine if he'd have pulled that off at the time? That would have been a sensational win. To go to Russia and beat Kovalev, who at that time, he was still feared, wasn't he? I mean, I know after that, in his next fight, Kovalev got stopped by Canelo. He's never really done anything of note since, other than get himself in trouble outside the ring, of course. But yeah, so had Anthony, I know it's if buts maybe, had he have pulled that off, that would have been one of the best wins by a British fighter in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out, but he's got the experience of fighting for a world title, being in there, fighting at the highest level. He had that disappointing loss to Lyndon Arthur, where I think he got the tactics wrong as much as anything else. And that's no disrespect to Lyndon Arthur, who is also a very talented fighter. But I think if Anthony had got his shots off earlier, he could well have won that fight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's gone either way, but he just didn't do enough work, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's behind him now. But he's a talented guy in a talented division. You know what I mean? And he's exciting, man. You know what I mean? He's got the look. He looks good. He speaks well. You know what I mean? He's got a big punch. You know what I mean? He's got an aura around him. And, you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to seeing him this weekend, as I'm sure a lot of people are.
Mohammed Zishan has said here, the best British light heavyweight prospect, in your opinion, apart from Yarde? Well, it wouldn't have been Yarde anyway for me. I mean, you got to look at Buatsi if you want to still call him a prospect.
Well, both those guys have gone past the prospect stage now. I mean, Anthony Yarde's actually fought for a world title. So once you've done something like that, I don't think you can any longer be considered a prospect.
Yeah,
however,
I'm guessing the prospect.
I don't think he's reached the ceiling yet.
If you're talking about potential, who can go the furthest rather than prospect, then I'm still going Buatsi.
Yeah. I mean, I would lean towards Buatsi. But then, listen, man, Buatsi, as much as I like him and as good as he is, he can get caught. Now, you got guys like Yarde there and Callum Johnson as well.
I want to see Callum Johnson more.
Those guys can bang, man. You know what I mean? If you leave your chin out to dry and those guys tag you on it, it could be a long night. You know what I mean? So that's the thing,
guys, man. Craig Richards is very good.
Division is you've got a real mix of stars in there. You've got people like Craig Richards, who's your classic boxer, stand-up boxer. You got Yarde, who's your box puncher. You got Lyndon Arthur, again, boxer. And then you've got your punchers, Callum Johnson. And you've got Buatsi, again, box puncher, box fighter, aggressive. You know what I mean? So there's a real mix of styles in there. And it'll be interesting to see that when the smoke clears, who's on top.
Jay-Z has said here, do you think Yarde, as big a unit of 170-pounder, are his best days done at 175?
No.
Not yet. No, it remains to be seen. I think we just need to see how he gets on. I've never heard of him having a problem making weight before.
No, no.
He looks big for the weight, but I mean, if he can make the weight healthy enough, then hey, you know what I mean? Might as well stay there.
Shoulders, man. He's got massive shoulders. Some people are suggesting that maybe he's a little bit big round, that he needs to trim down a bit like what Joshua apparently is doing for Usyk. They're saying he needs to strip off some of that muscle and maybe improve his cardio. That might not be a bad thing, you know, because he did gas out a little bit against Kovalev, although we know he had that massive 8th round when he basically threw the kitchen sink at Kovalev. So that could have been a bit of an experience, him doing that. But I noticed in the Lyndon Arthur, he never really, you know what I mean, let his hands go, did it? Until later in the fight when it was almost too late. So was him doing that a consequence of him not being fully confident in his own fitness, in his own gas tank? You don't know. But then, like I said, I've seen him do rounds and rounds in the gym and he wasn't even blowing that hard. So
we'll see. Mohammed has said here, I want to see Yarde versus Buatsi. I think that might have passed now. I don't even think that's going to happen now. Do you?
Well, it could happen if Buatsi was to, say, win a title. And then he might want a homecoming fight. And Yarde, that's a natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, London, isn't it? South London versus East London. There's always a rivalry there. You know what I mean? So it could happen. Although I think the two guys are on slightly different paths right now. But it's very possible that their paths could cross in the future.
Francisco says here, Yarde versus Zurdo Ramirez. I don't think Yarde's ready for Zurdo.
No, that's not a fight I want to see Yarde take right now, man. Zurdo is the real deal. And he's right there, isn't he? Listen, that fight's not going to happen anyway. Because I firmly believe that Zurdo will probably get a title fight in the next year or so. I don't think Anthony Yarde's quite at that level yet. He's basically Anthony Yarde rebooting his career, isn't he? After the problems that you alluded to there earlier, what with the bereavements in his family and so forth like that, the loss he's had, the losses he's suffered. He's trying to get his career back on track. He's got a new trainer on board. So listen, I'm sure they're looking at it as a building process. By the time he's ready to step up that level, Zurdo Ramirez would either have become a champion or, you know, I mean, or at least fought for a title. So at the moment they're on different paths, but it's a fight that could happen down the line. Sure, certainly, yeah.
Tunde will still be in the corner, I'll have to say, for Anthony Yarde, wouldn't he? He'll still be in the corner there. Yeah. But they've added somebody else in the camp, haven't they?
Yeah, they've added Jimmy Cook, who, like I said before, was a former very good professional himself, a very respected guy in boxing, respected as a fighter and as a trainer and as a mentor. So I think that that's a good choice of Tunde to bring him in. And I think Tunde's worked with James Cook in the past. They have a respect for one another. So I think that's a good look. Yeah. And so I think that that's something that that experience there, like I said, that third eye is something that I think that Anthony Yarde will benefit from, definitely.
Well, yeah, Saturday's card actually looks all right, man. I'm looking forward to it. Big up Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions. Main event, Akeem Menace-Brown against Sam Maxwell. You've got my boy Leon Woodstock in there fighting Kakache. You've got obviously Anthony Yarde returning. So listen, it's not a bad card at all.
Yeah, man, it's about time Frank had a card in it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's taken long.
Let's see how it goes.
It's taken long. I just hope there's no pullouts, man. You know what I mean? I hope COVID doesn't get the better of this card as it has done with some of the previous cards earlier in the year. But yeah, man, if everything stays as it is, it should be a good night of boxing.
I suppose since we're talking about the whole night of boxing, I suppose we should talk about the card overseas with your boy Jake Paul taking on Paul-Woodley. But other than that, we do have some actual fighters from over here fighting on the undercard. You've got Tommy Fury on the undercard there, and you've got Daniel Dubois on that particular undercard. So, listen, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to try and preview the main event here between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Also got Amanda Serrano on there, haven't you, on that undercard too? Very good fighter. So I like watching her. She's one of the best female fighters out there for sure. But I mean, are you going to be? I mean, I think it's pay-per-view actually. Are you going to be?
I won't be paying any money to watch Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Although I would say that in terms of like YouTube fights, this is probably one of the more watchable ones, or more attractive ones, as it were, because Tyron Woodley, for those of your viewers who don't know, he's like a Hall of Famer MMA guy, although he's 39 years old and coming off back-to-back losses. And during his MMA career, he was what was known as a striker, which means that primarily he would fight with his fists as opposed to doing the wrestling stuff, although he was good at that as well. But he had a reputation for knocking people out and being good with his hands. Henceforth, why this fight has been made. I guess you've got to favor Jake Paul. He's the younger guy. He's been boxing for longer. I guess the narrative is that if Woodley can land one on his chin, we're going to see how Jake Paul reacts to getting hit on the chin. Yeah. So there is some kind of intrigue there in that regard. Like I said, I won't be buying it. I'll wait a day or two until I watch it on YouTube or something like that. It's mildly entertaining, but, you know, nothing to get excited about from my perspective, to be honest.
The brother Shane Willoughby in the house. He's put here, what's up? Good to hear from you, Shane. Hope you're well, bro. Laurie, Daniel Dubois on the undercard, Tommy Fury, who's been twerking for Jake Paul, hasn't he? He's been trying to get that fight for, like, you know what I mean? So he's going to be all up in his grill on that.
I just think with Tommy Fury, it's a little embarrassing. Like, you've been calling Jake Paul out of his name, saying you're going to bash him up when you see him, you're going to do this and that. Lo and behold, you're fighting on the guy's undercard. That means you're working for Jake Paul. But then, Fury, as I've said many times before, man, you just kind of shake your head in disbelief at some of the antics these guys get up to. I mean, I'm sure that Tommy Fury's opponent will be yet another hand-picked poor opponent that he's probably going to bowl over, and then we're going to hear his dad saying, oh, he's going to be a world champ. Yeah, it's tired of all that already, man. I think we all know the first time Tommy Fury comes up against anyone half decent, he's going to probably get beat. But I guess it's going to long this out for as long as they can.
Shane says, I'm surprised this is being discussed to hardcores like yourself. Listen, we're not going to talk about it for long, bro.
No, but the thing is, right now, to be fair to you, you have to talk about it, innit? I mean, you've actually got guys like, forget about Tommy Fury, because to me, he's no further into the game than Jake Paul, as far as I'm concerned. But you've got a guy like Daniel Dubois, one of the top heavyweight prospects in the world. He's fighting on the undercard of a YouTuber's fight. So you kind of have to discuss it whether we like it or not. You know? I don't know what's happened to Daryl there. You know what I mean? Must have got caught by a shot by Tommy Fury. Daryl, you there? Yeah, as I was saying, man, that fight this weekend, you kind of have to, you do have to preview it, because it's whether we like it or not, it's a high prominence fight. It's a high profile fight. You know, Jake Paul has made a niche for himself, and people are showing interest in it. So I guess you do have to give him credit for that. I think I'd much rather watch his fight than the fight coming up with Oscar De La Hoya and former MMA guy Victor Belfort, I think his name is. So yeah, it is what it is, man. It's not my cup of tea, but you know, it's the world we live in right now, where YouTubers are coming to prominence in boxing. I guess boxing has its own questions to answer in how they've allowed this dynamic to occur in the sport of boxing. Is it because people have got fed up with the parlor state of boxing, with top fighters not fighting one another? You know, there's a lot to be said there. Why aren't the top guys squared off against each other. The likes of your Errol Spence and Terence Crawford's not fighting each other. You know what I mean? Fury and AJ not fighting each other. AJ and Wilder, you know what I mean? The list goes on. These guys, for whatever reason, these fights are not being made. And it's resulted in a lot of disillusionment in boxing. And then all of a sudden, you've had the YouTubers enter the fray. They're willing to put their bodies and reputations on the line and fighting people. And it seems to have connected with the public. So whilst I'm not a massive fan of it, it does, however we want to look at it, have a place in boxing. So it is what it is, man. And to be fair to Jake Paul, I've actually seen a couple of his fights, and he does appear to be taking it seriously. Yes, the opponents have been very handpicked. I mean, I think he fought an ex-basketball guy, Nate Robinson, knocked him out. He's fought another YouTuber, knocked him out, and then he fought a couple of fights ago. He fought Ben Askren, wasn't it? Who was woefully inept and unprepared, and was subsequently knocked out in a round. But at least with Tyron Woodley, he brings a certain level of respect to this fight. Like I said, he's an MMA guy that was known for his striking ability, and he does have a reputation as being a big puncher, albeit in the MMA sphere. So he's a big puncher in that sport, but obviously not in boxing, because this will be his first boxing fight. But, you know, I mean, it appears to have attracted a lot of interest from what I can see. Looking at some of the videos on YouTube and stuff like that, it seems to have had a lot of views and a lot of people are talking about it. So, like I said, I won't be paying for it. I won't be watching it live. But I'll probably get up the next day. I'll be curious to see how it went, who won, what happened. So I'm pretty sure I'll be catching up with it the day after. What will you guys be doing? What do you guys think? You know what I mean? Let us know. Let us know in the comments what you think. But yeah, man, I mean, the real fights this weekend, to me, are the Akeem Ennis-Brown versus Sam Maxwell and the Anthony Yarde fight. Those are the fights I'll be focusing on. But you can't really not, you know, say you're not going to have no interest in what's going on across the pond with the Jake Paul fight, because it does have some relevance, you know. So, yeah, it is what it is. Still don't know what's happened to Daryl, man. As you can see, I'm talking to you. Oh, hang on. He's back.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that, man. Very, very sorry about that. The laptop cut out. Do you know what? I'll be honest. It was plugged in, but the switch went on. You know what I mean? Okay. Basic schoolboy error, man. Apologies. And what I missed?
Excuses like Manny. Are you going to take the blame, or are you going to blame it on the electrics?
Nah, this is my fault, man.
You know what I mean?
Nah, I'll take the full blame for this one. This is my fault.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I miss? I miss anything? Or?
No, I was just saying about the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight is that, listen, I know some of the purists will have a problem with fights like this, but I guess as a boxing purist and a boxing fan myself, we just got to acknowledge and accept that there is a place in boxing for this type of thing. And that it is being quite popular, because there is a lot of interest around this fight this weekend, whether we like it or not. I was just saying when you were off air there that if you go online, there's loads of videos previewing this fight.
Yeah, I mean,
talking about it.
I hear what Shane's saying, but like you said, I have to touch on it, man. Even things that don't really particularly interest, like this, don't interest me. Like it don't interest me in the slightest. But I know there are people on here that might want to hear about it. But I have to be real. It's not. That's why I kind of left you to hold it, because I know you'll talk about it more than me.
I'll be honest, it does have a mild curiosity for me, because I do like MMA, and I do remember watching Tyron Woodley. Like I said, he's 39 years old now. He's having back-to-back losses. He had his contract cut, actually, by the UFC and Dana White, because he just wasn't getting the wins anymore. Hence why he's gone down this road to boxing. But because he had a reputation as a striker, aka puncher, when he was, at his heights in MMA, and because Jake Paul is searching around for opponents, it does kind of have a certain resonance, this fight, because there is a possibility that if Tyron Woodley lands square on Jake Paul's chin, he could knock him out, because he does have knockout power. He had a reputation for that in the UFC. So that is where the attraction in this fight lies. If you're looking at Tyron Woodley to put on a boxing masterclass and school Jake Paul, I don't think that's going to happen. It's basically going to come down to, can he land a knockout punch? I would say, you know, listen, Tyron Woodley's 39 going on 40. Jake Paul's 24, big guy as well, 6'2". He's going to outweigh Woodley, you know what I mean? Younger, probably stronger, more athletic. You know what I mean? He's what's the term I'm looking for? He's riding a high right now. He's coming off the back of consecutive wins. It's his promotion. He's probably going to win that. But there is a curiosity involved in this fight, because the way he's selling it to the people as well, he's slowly stepping his level of opponents up. And the other thing as well with Jake Paul, he's a YouTuber, so he knows how to garner publicity. He's a trash talker. He stepped up his trash talking game. So you can see, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of followers. You can see why people are interested.
There's a lot of comments here. We're going to have to go through them, man. A lot of people have had stuff to say. I haven't had time to go through them, obviously, because I got cut out. But having a look at them here, big up Lil Cheeto. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before, so big up yourself if this is the first time I've seen you here. Welcome. He's put here, Canelo Plant prediction.
You know what? Uga showed on Saturday, man, that the underdogs do have a chance. Listen,
it's a bit different, though, isn't it?
It's a bit different. I have to listen. If I'm going to say a prediction, I would say Canelo's going to win, but don't write Plant off completely, because he does have skills. He has height. He has good footwork, good athletic gifts, good boxer. Appears to believe in himself. And you know what? I know some people are going to hate on me for this, but I really want Caleb Plant to win for a lot of different reasons. I think it would be great for boxing if he won, because the sort of Canelo train, man, has become a little bit of an uncomfortable ride for me. So I really love, but will he get, the thing about Caleb Plant is he's just not a puncher. And then you're talking about Canelo, who, for all some of his other things that he does in boxing, he's a great boxer, and he's also got one of the best chins in the game right now. So I can't see Caleb Plant dropping him or stopping him, which means it's going to go to points. And I just think that there's no way Canelo's not going to get the decision. Listen, Caleb Plant is starting 4 or 5 rounds down on the cards. It's as simple as that.
I think Caleb Plant is going to have to box an absolute A1 game, and that is to even probably get a draw or to get, you know what I mean? It's going to be very difficult for him to get the win. I think he's got, I mean, listen, we all say, I mean, it's been said about Canelo a lot of times, like people say, oh, he's got the ability to do, I mean, people saying about Billy Joe Saunders, oh, he could outbox him, he could do this, but Canelo he's reading the ring a lot better. You can't just go in there and just outbox him anymore. I think you've got to provide a bit more than that. And can Caleb do it? I think that he's got the skills and the ability to trouble him, but can he sustain it over 12? It's going to be so difficult. So difficult to do, man. I
mean, I referenced Ugas and Pacquiao, but there are some similarities in terms of underdog status. But then there are also a lot of differences. So, for example, Pacquiao, as we said, 42 years old. Ugas, no spring chicken himself, but he was 7 years younger at 35. With the Canelo and Plant matchup, they're much closer in age. Canelo's got a lot of experience, but he's not old. And Canelo's the puncher. He's also a very good boxer. See, the thing is, as I said with Pacquiao, it was his physicality that tended to win in fights, wasn't it? The speed and the power of foot speed and stuff like that. But his actual boxing skills, man, he wasn't that refined. I know to some people that may sound weird, but you, Daryl, understand what I'm talking about. Manny Pacquiao, you look at him, he's not what I would call an A-class boxer. He's a great fighter, box fighter. He's not a great boxer. With Canelo, he's got excellent skills as a boxer, excellent jab, got power. You can put combinations together. And he's also, as you've seen, when he wants to, he's got excellent defense. Yeah. I think the only thing with Canelo that would appear to be a weakness is that he's quite flat-footed. I know he's also got problem with his knees. So he doesn't move around the ring that much. Whereas Caleb Plant, he does have excellent movement. Yep. So if he can get a game plan in place where he can move around Canelo, but then would that be deemed to be running in some people's eyes? You see, he's going to have to stay in the pocket and fight as well. Now, can he do that for 12 rounds? Because let's face it, he's not going to knock Canelo out. And can he do that whereby he gets a decision on the scorecards? I doubt that. Although I do think he will perform well, if you see what I mean.
We'll have to see, man. Conrad has said here, the worst thing is I'm not even sure Tommy Fury would win that Jake Paul fight.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm not been impressed by Tommy Fury one bit, I have to say. I mean, he just gone in there and just bowled over guys. If you look at the records of some of the people he's fought, they've been atrocious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know how good he is. I mean, listen, okay, I know he keeps telling everyone, yeah, I only had 10 fights, blah, blah, blah. Same as Anthony Yarde only had about 10 fights. But he's nowhere near Anthony Yarde's level. We could see that already.
Yeah, I think they have to.
By the way, they're putting in with these guys who are like 5 and 100. You know what I mean? If he was any good, I'm sure they would have stepped his level up by now, even just a little bit. So,
yeah.
You know what? I probably wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I think Jake Paul probably knock him out. Yeah, to be honest.
IB has said here, I love the content that you put out this week. Keep them videos going. Yeah, I put out a couple different videos this week. He said, I'm not sure if you're familiar with counter-punch boxing, but content similar to him, obviously a lot less and more important issues would be great. I don't follow counter. Do you know counter-punch boxing? I don't
know he is an American guy, right? Yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos. Yeah, he knows his stuff. You know, there's quite a few boxing channels out there, and sometimes I like to look around the landscape and see who's doing what. And sometimes some of these guys, they do make some good videos. Sometimes you've got to be a bit careful, though. I'm not saying this about counterpunch. Some of these guys allow their biases to kind of overtake their content, if you see what I mean.
I have to check him out. I ain't seen him before.
So what happens is you soon become very aware of the fact that somebody is of a particular persuasion in terms of the fighters they support. When I say particular persuasion, I mean in terms of it becomes obvious that they're a Canelo fan or a Crawford fan or an Errol Spence fan or a Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? You can just tell after watching their videos for a certain time, you can just tell by the narratives and stuff they use that they're that way inclined. But, you know, there are some guys out there that make some good content, man. No doubt.
A big up IB, man. Yeah, I'll be putting out a lot more videos now. Like I was saying, I'm going to be putting out more videos from now. So yeah, look out for more of them. The Mythical Monday videos every Monday where I'll do a fantasy matchup. Fight previews are coming. More videos to come. I was going to draw more this week, to be fair, but it's literally been a bit of a manic week for me. But they are coming. I still got time to get them out. So look out for those, as well as obviously the podcast every Thursday as well. Shane has said here, we need to call DAZN out for what they are doing to Ade. I know he is just doing his job, but he is the most knowledgeable guy working on DAZN. Why do they have him doing some gimmicks? You know what? I'll be honest. I ain't even watched. I've seen him on there, but I don't like. I've seen him do. He's got the boxing show with Bellew, but I don't know what else they've got him doing.
Yeah,
I've
seen a lot of Ade on DAZN, to be honest. Some of their coverage is okay. Some of it I'm not entirely impressed with. I mean, like I said on your previous show, I like Tony Bellew. I think he analyzes fights very well, and of course, he's boxed at the very highest level, so he's able to give particular insights on tactics and how the fighters are feeling before and after and during fights, which is obviously very interesting to listen to. But then some of their stuff I'm not so keen on. You know what I mean? The way they kind of overhype certain things. I guess they have to do it in a way because they're selling the fighters, but some of it I do find a little nauseating at times. But yeah.
It's a good break. It's a good break for Ade. I mean, even if it is like Shane don't really like it here, but it's still a good break. Do you know what I mean? He's been he's been on radio, like TalkSport. He's got the break there. Like he's been on CNN before. You know, fair play to him, man. I'm really happy for his progress. So yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Ade straight away is he's very professional. So he's very articulate and he presents very well. You know what I mean? So yeah. Let's
see, man. But big up Ade, big up Shane, and you know what I mean. Big up all of you guys here, man. Conrad has said that he'll make his
I
way.
would disagree with him what he said there about Maya Jama. Maya Jama is not analysing fights. Maya Jama is a presenter. And there's a big difference between presenting a show and being an analyst. She will present the show, ask some perfunctory questions, and then allow the analysts to, impart their knowledge onto the people watching. She's not breaking down fights. There may be a few obvious things that she would say in the midst of that, but it's not her job to analyse fights.
Yeah. Isfan Grob here has said here, I have absolutely no problem with Jake Paul. Good on him taking advantage of the situation. I just don't watch low quality sports. Fair enough. Like he's yeah.
Yeah, it's take it or leave it. I guess Jake Paul would say that's pay-per-view. So if you don't want to watch it, you don't pay for it. You know what I mean? I won't pay for it. I don't think it's worthy of me paying for it. But like I said, if it pops up on my timeline the next day and they're showing the highlights or the fight or whatever, of course I'm going to watch it.
Ian Hamilton has said here, evening guys, how's it all going? Going very well, my brother. Good having you here, Ian. Good to see you, bro. Jeff TV in the house, all the way from Philly. He's put here, my brother's boxing Lowdown and Laurie. Salute, fellas. Good to have Jeff.
Yeah, man, big up Jeff, straight out of Philly. And when I see Jeff, man, I'm going to have a serious talk with him about his Philly native, Bernard Hopkins. That guy, man, he's... I've lost so much respect for that guy recently. But anyway, I won't dwell on it. I'll just speak to Jeff off camera or whenever. Get me on your show, Jeff, you know what I mean? And let me go in on Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah, get us both on there, Jeff.
Yeah.
We need to jump on there, man. Ian Hamilton has said here, evening guys, how's it all going? Sorry, I haven't been in much recently, but I've been busy. Good to see that Canelo implant has been made. Canelo by mid-stoppage. He's too unstoppable at the moment. So yeah, again, it's going to be difficult for Plant to win that. I think I agree with you on one thing. I think he'll perform better than Billy Joe did.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's in a better place than Billy Joe. Don't forget, Billy Joe was one of those guys. He was flitting in and out of the sport. He was waiting on that one big payday. By his own admission, he'd not always taken the sport seriously. Now, you can never say that about Caleb Plant. Always comes in shape, dedicated to his craft. You may have seen his wife, actually, interviewing Ugas last week. Did you know that was his wife?
Yeah, Jordan Plant.
Yeah, that's his wife.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the boxing. Yeah, listen, man, Caleb Plant is a very talented fighter. I've seen his fights. He talks a lot of smack, man, but he's a very good boxer. Unfortunately for him, he's not been blessed with a big punch. And I think when you fight Canelo, unless you can, put it on him a little bit, back him up and stuff like that, maybe even drop him, something that even people like Triple G and Danny Jacobs couldn't do, it's difficult to see how Caleb Plant is going to do it. But could I see him outboxing Canelo in some spells of the fight? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But will he get the decision? Probably not.
Shane saying here, Bellew's trash. He's not rating Bellew at all.
No, I don't agree with that, man. Listen, whatever you want to say about Tony Bellew, I don't think too many people will argue that he knows his stuff. He definitely knows his stuff. You may have a problem with the way he says certain things. You know what I mean? He can be he's a bit of a character, Tony Bellew. But when you say he's trash, I mean, Shane needs to elaborate more. Trash in what way? Do you mean his opinions are trash? One thing I would say about Tony Bellew, and he's even admitted it himself, he can be quite biased.
That's one thing I'd say about him. He's just very, very biased on there.
Yeah. He can be biased when it comes to...
But he admits it. He's open. He admits it. That's why I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. But, in terms of the way he breaks down fights and he analyzes certain situations, and like I said before, he kind of put you inside the mind of a fighter. I think he's very good at that. Yeah.
Vault UK has said here, I think Canelo is going to destroy Plant in 4 rounds. Interesting. If he does that, that's a very good win, man. I mean, Plant, he's undefeated. He's looked good so far. It'll be very difficult to... I mean, he hasn't really been hurt like that, has he, Caleb Plant?
No, I mean, listen, Caleb Plant would appear to have a good chin. I've never seen him even so much as get rocked. I mean, he was in with Uskata guy a few fights ago, who was a noted puncher, or was supposed to have been, and he didn't trouble Caleb Plant. I think Caleb Plant did gas out a little bit in a couple of the late rounds, but then rallied. But he didn't seem in trouble in that fight. I can't remember seeing any fight, actually, that he's been in trouble. But then the level of opponents have not been anywhere near the level of Canelo, so we don't know.
Yeah,
I know he's better come prepared to withstand a body attack of Canelo, because you know that's going to be Canelo's tactics, to get inside and work the body, which will probably mean that Canelo will give up some of the early rounds, given that he's a slow starter anyway. And then his game plan, I would imagine, will be to work the body and try and overpower and stop Caleb Plant late. So I don't see him getting him out of there in 4 rounds. I'd be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I'll be surprised.
I do think Canelo is going to come on strong. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. I think it'll be better than the Billy Joe fight, put it that way.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to get your opinion on 2 topics before we lock down for today. The first one is Crawford and Porter. Just some news with that it's going to be going to purse bids. You're probably not surprised with that the fight is heading to purse bids. That will be next week, I think it is, and that's going to be streamed as well, live on Facebook, actually. So if I'm awake, well, I might, if that's on at a suitable time, I might tune into that. Do you know what I mean? But
what's the purse bids?
Yeah, the purse bids between Crawford and Porter will be live. So anyone, I mean, obviously we can't bid, but like those that are looking to go in and bid for it, will be able to see the action unfold as to who will win that bid. So it will be interesting. Will it be Bob Arum? Will it be the PBC? I'm guessing the PBC would get it. But let's see what happens, man. I mean, I don't think Bob will get it, especially now with his particular relationship with Crawford.
Bob won't get it. Maybe Triller or somebody might get it. But I'll tell you what, with regards to that fight, I'm going to make what some people would say is a bold prediction. And I'm going to state here and now that Crawford will become the first person to stop Sean Porter in the ring.
Yeah?
Yeah. I genuinely do believe it. I think Terence Crawford, he's been out of the ring for a while. He's not fought. You can see he's itching to get back in there. And I think he's looking at Sean Porter like food. And I think that with his combination of boxing skills, footwork, desire, nastiness, I think he's going to take it out on Sean Porter, man. I think it's going to be a highlight real win for him.
Yeah.
I think it could be a couple of knockdowns, and I think Sean Porter probably turn out to be too brave for his own good, and I think he gets stopped on his feet.
Yeah.
Taking too much.
I could see that happening as well. Not gonna lie. I think Porter's lost a step a little bit, and I think that he has. Yeah.
Very hittable. He comes in one way. He's very physical. Don't get me wrong. He will cause Crawford some problems, especially early on. But I think Crawford, you know, he's very good at making adjustments. You saw that in the Kell Brook fight. You saw that in the Amir Khan fight as well. Numerous fights you've seen that in. The Green Machine fight, where, you know, I mean, people think they're having their moments with him, and then he works it out, and then he comes back and he's shown that he can punch at this weight as well. All his welterweight fights have ended in stoppage, and I think Sean Porter's going to go the same way. Some people are going to be shocked at that because Sean Porter's a bit of a bull, but I think the fact that he's so hittable and the way he runs in, I reckon he'll get tagged on the way in, and he'll probably hit the floor a couple of times and end up getting stopped.
Let's see. I just hope the fight gets made first of all.
By the true pound for pound fighter in the world, Terence Bud Crawford, drug free.
Let's just hope that fight actually happens, man. Because for me, I'm just like, it goes to purse bids. I don't want no one pulling out or anything like that, man. Like, well, Crawford won't, because obviously if he did, he'd lose his belt. So let's hope that.
I don't think anybody. I mean, listen. Say what you want about Sean Porter. He's a warrior, man. He'll come to fight. He's very physical, you know what I mean? And he'll make it difficult for Crawford at first. I just think Crawford will make the necessary adjustments. And by around about halfway, you'll probably be hitting Porter at will. Yeah.
Let's see what happens, man. I'm looking forward to that. And lastly, I just want to get your thoughts on the undercard for Anthony Joshua, who will be taking on Alexander Usyk in just under a month's time now. I don't know if you saw some of the undercard fights that were announced, but it didn't really excite me that much. But I mean, say that again.
Was Dave Allen one of them, wasn't it?
They got Lawrence. No, they ain't got Dave. They got Lawrence Okoli.
There was talk of him making a comeback and that he would fight on the undercard, which I hope is not true.
Nah, Lawrence Okoli's on the undercard. He's fighting his mandatory challenger. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I think it's Prasovic. Callum Smith will be making his light heavyweight debut. I don't know who's he fighting. Leanin Castillo. You got Campbell Hatton on there. He's taken on another guy, Florian Marku. So yeah, it doesn't scream out to me, but I guess like, what sort of undercard were we expecting, really?
Well, based on what you've just told me there, I'm not particularly excited by that undercard, I have to say. I look forward to seeing Lawrence Okoli defend his title. But other than what you've mentioned there, nothing screams out at me. But, you know, it depends. Listen, with those guys that you mentioned, it depends who they're matched against. Because all those guys are decent fighters. If you match them with other decent fighters, you'll have a competitive fight. And, yeah.
I don't see no ups. I don't see no particular upsets here. Like, I don't see Lawrence Okoli losing to Prasovic. I don't see Callum Smith losing in his light heavyweight debut. They're going to match him carefully. Leanin Castillo, Campbell Hatton is obviously going to be matched very carefully. So yeah, the thing is, like, when you just know the outcome, like, there's no real, like, you feel like that the fights are going to end in a certain way. It kind of takes away some sort of element of excitement from it, doesn't it? Because it just sounds like win.
It sounds like one of those undercards where a lot of people will be in the bar waiting for the main event. So you'll see big gaps in the crowd. As soon as Joshua and Usyk start their ring walks, you'll think, wow, there's so many people in it. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Last word on Joshua and Usyk, man. Like I said, that fight is just under a month away. I saw someone say actually that Usyk could be probably the second toughest challenger that Joshua's faced in his career so far. I think that they had, can't remember who they had as number one, if it was Klitschko or whoever, but with, Usyk and AJ, Usyk does present a problem for him, but I'm going to stick with my prediction that I think that Joshua ultimately will be too big, too strong, and too athletic for Usyk. I mean, I think that Usyk is a brilliant cruiserweight, pound for pound material, absolutely unbelievable fighter, but it's a totally different world at heavyweight. And I think that AJ, for me, what I've seen from Usyk at heavyweight so far has not impressed me like that, and I have to ride with AJ. I do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, AJ's got pretty much all of the physical advantages, except for maybe speed and footwork. And then he's at home as well, which is a massive factor.
Yeah.
I mean, if it does go to points, you would imagine that AJ's probably going to get more love from the judges. But then I don't necessarily think it will go to the scorecards. And that's nothing to denigrate Usyk with. I'm not saying he's got a weak chin or anything. It's just that I'm sort of aligning with the points you made about AJ being so much bigger and stronger. And in the prime of his life should be, really. And he needs this fight, doesn't he? You know what I mean? Yeah. He needs this more than Usyk needs it. And I hope I'm not doing Usyk a disservice by saying that. But Joshua absolutely needs to win this fight. It's on his own ground. It's all set up for him to win. But Usyk will give him problems, man. I've got no doubt about that, because Usyk is a very skilled fighter. He's southpaw. I mean, he can use his feet when he wants to. He's got lots of heart and determination. And I'm sure he'll be coming in there to win as well. But I'll just give Anthony Joshua the edge. And I think that, you know what I mean, by the time we get to the later rounds, you kind of 9, 10, 11, 12, I think that greater weight, power, strength, youthful exuberance and stuff like that, I think it will all start to play out. And I think AJ will take control of the fight, and I see him forcing a stoppage late.
Yeah.
It could be one of those where the guy's on his feet, shipping punishment, and the referee says, oh, it's enough. And Usyk can probably be complaining, saying, no, I want to fight on. It could be one of them.
Steve Harrison has said here, I love how you call out Canelo with the drug-free, or I'm guessing he's talking about drug cheats, but why not Dillian Whyte when you talked about him being number one for so long?
Well, you know, the difference is I do accept that Dillian Whyte's had problems with drugs, so I'm not shying away from that. My thing with Canelo is this: I'm saying, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. How can you have a pound for pound so-called king of boxing that is a convicted drugs cheat? Now, Steve, write back to me or let me know how you feel that works, because for me that don't work.
Yeah. We'll wait and see.
Not in my world anyway. If we're gonna listen, if we're gonna condemn drugs cheats, let's do it properly, shall we? How you gonna have a guy as the pound for pound number one boxer in the world that's a 2 times drugs cheat? I didn't say the guy didn't have talent. I didn't say he's not a great boxer. I said all of that. But, you know, answer that question. And that is why I referenced the drug-free thing with Crawford, because to my knowledge, he's not failed a drugs test. His name is not mired in the mud, like say Manny Pacquiao's when it comes to performance-enhancing drugs. He's not refused to take random drug testing of any sort that I know of. I mean, if he has, you let me know. I don't know of it. So until I see that, I'm going for Crawford.
Yeah.
Dillian, I've never mentioned Dillian in those rarefied atmospheres. You know what I mean? And I do, and I have on this show criticized Dillian for that. So, you know.
Conrad has said here, I think we'll see Loma and Lopez again in that fight. I hope so. I hope that fight gets made again, the rematch. That would be very good. The whole Teofimo Lopez and Kambosos fight, I mean, what's going on with that?
Who knows, man? Who knows? It would appear that Lopez is not particularly keen on taking this fight for some reason.
Need to see Lopez back in the ring, man, because
Kambosos might have got in his head a little bit. You see, the one thing I observed when they had those head-to-heads was how confident Kambosos was. And it didn't seem to be no play acting for me. He genuinely believed in himself. And I think that, if I'm being honest, I think that Teofimo was a little taken aback. I'm not saying he's scared, but I think he was a little taken aback at how confident Kambosos was. And, you know, that look he had in his eye, man. He had that eye of the tiger in his eye. Do you agree, Darren?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And I think that.
I'm not saying he would have beaten him, but he did look.
That doesn't mean to say he's going to win, but I think that definitely caught Teofimo off guard. And I think that may well have had something to do with him pulling out the fight. Maybe he thought he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he had COVID, and then lo and behold, we see him and his girlfriend in Italy. Then we were told about tickets not being sold and stuff like that.
Last few comments here. Isfan Grob was put here. I don't think AJ will be able to knock Usyk out. We'll see.
Maybe not knock him out, but I could see him stopping him on his feet, as I said earlier.
Conrad has said here, I would put my money on AJ by UD. That could happen as well. Steve Harrison has said here, it doesn't my world, but that B sample is where. I am with you on the drug testing. Crawford is still my number one in my eyes, but it's frustrating that he's not getting the fights. Yeah. Yeah,
well, listen, you mentioned the B sample. Me too. I want to see that B sample too. You know what I mean? Like, we're all mystified as to what happened with that B sample. You know what I mean? But it's boxing, man. These things unfortunately happen like that.
Yeah.
I would love to know what's happening with that B sample, man. I smell a rat, I have to say. Even
Very
though
dodgy that was.
It is. Even though, like I said, I've been quite high on Dillian in the past, but I have to be honest and say I do smell a rat when it comes to that particular episode. And I'd love to know where is the B sample and what's in it.
Might bring back to what Volts was saying, man, where he said everyone's doing it. Volts, UK, big up Volts. Everyone's juicing, man. I'm not condoning that, but that's what he said.
I would like to believe that I mean, listen, I know a lot of fighters out there, loads of them, and you know what I mean, I'd like to think that they're not all on performance enhancing drugs. But is there a problem with performance enhancing drugs in boxing? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would stop short of saying everyone's on it. Maybe everyone takes supplements, but you know, but everyone on performance enhancing drugs, not for me. Maybe I'm being naive in saying that, but I honestly believe that there are people out there that do try and do it the right way.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I'm going to wrap it up for this week, man. Been here for 1 hour and a half, and you know, another very entertaining show. A lot of good points made again. So I just want to shout out you, Laurie. I want to shout out everybody in the comments. I want to shout out everybody that watches the show every week. Don't forget, on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share the video, get it out to as much people as you can. And listen, man, look forward to the fights this weekend, whether it's going to be the main event over here in England or whether you're going to tune in to the event over there in America. Either way, enjoy the fight. Stay safe over this bank holiday weekend. And Laurie, I'll let you close it out.
As I always say, man, thanks for the opportunity for allowing me to indulge my passion on a platform such as this. To everybody watching, thank you for your support. Thank you for tapping in. like, share, subscribe. Let's get Daryl over these thousands. You know what I mean? I met a couple of people today who said that they're going to subscribe to the channel. Actually said they were going to watch the show and said, yeah, man, I'm going to subscribe. So yeah, I hope they do. I hope all of you out there watching do. And you know, share the video with your friends and family and associates and get them to subscribe also. So yeah, man, let's do it.
Francisco said here, good work, brothers. YouTube exhibition match, Laurie versus Gareth Davis. The winner gets Dan Raphael.
Hey, listen, man, I'm up for that. I'm not sure if Gareth Davis would be, but I'm up for that. And I was going to say Dan Raphael would be light work. The only problem is he's about 40 stone, so I don't think
you could be catch weight, man.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I'll take that, man. You know what I mean? Why not?
Big up everybody, man. Thank you.
Regard of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury.
Yeah. Now, big up everybody, man. Thank you all for tuning in. And listen, we'll catch you guys next week on the show. Look out for some other videos on the channel. I'm going to be doing an in-depth preview of this weekend's fights. We'll be doing fight reviews as well. Look out for the Mythical Mondays on the Monday as well. So more content to come. Stay tuned in, stay locked, and we'll catch you guys next week, man. Peace.